A paradise of 32 islands and keys.
The perfect getaway. St Vincent and the Grenadines is marketed as a Caribbean holiday destination, an escape from the rest of the world. But in fact, there are more than a dozen nations in this region which will never escape from their dark past.
Native genocide and slavery in the Caribbean have awful consequences.
The Atlantic slave trade involved the deportation of an estimated 30 million black men, women and children from Africa. From the 16th to the 19th century, they were sold to European slave traders who transported them to North and South America. Caribbean leaders want compensation from Britain, France and the Netherlands, and they're taking their fight to the United Nations. The issue has featured in a number of speeches at this week's General Assembly.
The need for serious dialogue on the topic of reparations.
For reparations for injustices suffered by African slaves and their descendants.
But who's listening? When US President Obama appeared on Monday, day one, it was a packed house. Mid-afternoon on Friday, President Gonsalves stood behind the podium and had a very different view. The room was about 1/4 full, and as he spoke,
the European nations which engaged in conquest,
it didn't seem like many were paying attention. People buried their heads in their electronic devices or simply struggled to stay awake. European countries involved in the slave trade left their seats empty or sent junior staff.
You can boil it down to a power analysis, who has it and who doesn't.
Khan Ross is a former diplomat and now helps political groups navigate the United Nations and other institutions. He knows how the diplomatic game is played.
The big countries are extremely good at saying, yes, we're listening, and we pay careful attention to the views of the Maldives about the future of the porpoise or whatever issue it is. They have, hundreds of diplomats who are paid precisely to prepare those kind of lines. It doesn't mean they are paying attention.
Ross believes the top-down approach to world politics is slowly shifting, but he's also convinced that the United Nations will be the last place to change. The UN is undoubtedly the biggest international body in the world, but its sheer size can also be an obstacle. The biggest hitters always get the most attention, which means this may not be the best forum for countries with a small voice fighting to be heard. Cath, Al Jazeera at the United Nations, New York.